would like to invite Mrs. Sivagami to introduce our guest speaker today.
Yeah. A couple of years back, Amazon's machine learning specialists uncovered a big problem. Do you know what it is? Their new recruiting engine did not like women. That's because Amazon's computer models were trained with historical data from the past 10 years. If you ask the question, who has been the most successful candidates in the past? The common trait will be somebody that is more likely to be a man and white. If the job candidate is a woman or a person of color, it's more likely that the model filters the candidate out. AI is only as good as the data it's programmed with. So the data and programming could be biased as a result of who is programming it. And a solution to combat bias in AI is to have more women and people of color in the AI industry to program the models. Our first speaker of today's Women Empowerment and Entrepreneurship in AI workshop, Dr. Shalini Kurapti, is leading the way in building human-centered and fair AI models. Dr. Shalini is the co-founder of Clearbox AI, an innovative startup company that provides human-centric and trustworthy AI solutions. She has a bachelor's in mechanical engineering at College of Engineering in Guindy, Chennai, and a PhD in technology, policy, and management in Delft University of Technology in Netherlands. With her multidisciplinary expertise, she leads the strategy, operations, and business development at Clearbox AI. Prior to that, Dr. Shalini successfully co-founded an AI consultancy and was in the pilot team of the Data Stewardship Project. She comes from a strong research background, and she is now translating her experience to fairness and transparency of machine learning algorithms. Let's welcome Dr. Shalini to shed some light on how we can nurture women entrepreneurship in AI and build fair AI models.
Good morning, everybody. It's actually good evening here. I'm calling in from Europe. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். எனக்கு தமிழ் நல்லா தெரியாது. I'm actually from Andhra, but I have Tamil in my heart because I was born in Vellore in Tamil Nadu and I studied in Chennai and my parents still live there. So Chennai is very close to my heart. So I don't want to destroy the beautiful Tamil language. So namaste, everybody. And thank you so much, Sivagami, for inviting me. And I immediately was happy to be part of this workshop because it's such an important topic of why women should be there. And Sivagami rightfully expressed how artificial intelligence can, of course, be a revolutionary technology. But if women are not part of it, it cannot. We might not be included in this progress. So I'm just going to start share my screen, and I hope I can express my ideas today. So screen number 2. Okay, share. So are you able to see my screen? If I can get a thumbs up from one of you, I will be very, very glad. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So today, my objective is to not tell you everything about AI. I'm sure the other panel speakers are going to give you all about the technicalities. Today, I'm just going to tell you my journey of entrepreneurship in AI and why my motivation to start and why women need to be more involved in the AI entrepreneurship. I will not maybe say it so verbally, but I hope my story and my motivation can express that. So like Sivagami just said, I am the CEO and co-founder of Clearbox AI Solutions. I'll tell you a little bit of what we do in a bit later. So I have to move. Okay, I have changed the slide. You saw the slide change as well? Okay, perfect, thank you. So I'm not going to go through my CV again. Sivagami was very kind to introduce me. I am the co-founder and CEO of Clearbox AI. And like Senator Bob was saying, of course, it's not just governments that are responsible for making sure that there are no bias and privacy issues. Companies can also do it. And our company is one of the examples that we can actually build trustworthy AI technologies. And I also have a very strong background in data privacy and ethics. And I think technology is very important, but also responsible technology is very important. That's our mission. And I have a very strong background in research and development, especially of how technology affects society and how we can all grow sustainably. And like I said, I studied in Chennai College of Engineering, which is really close to my heart. About today, I just explained who I am, and I'm going to explain the motivation why I started Clearbox AI. Before Clearbox AI, I had a very successful AI consultancy firm in the Netherlands, and it was, let's say, a traditional enterprise. Consulting is usually traditional. That means you get an assignment, you do it, you get paid. But it's not scalable. It's not a product-based enterprise. So we were quite happy. But while doing so, we understood the challenges of AI as well. Like a lot of people want to experiment with it, but once you want to use it for real business solutions, there were a lot of issues. And we also encountered the issue of the black box AI. I'm going to tell you about it. And that's why I moved from consulting to actually a real startup. And I will tell more about it. And then as a conclusion, I would like to also express the many challenges that women entrepreneurs face, maybe some even male entrepreneurs or other non-binary entrepreneurs might face, but this is absolutely my perspective. So please don't hold on to my word that maybe it might be different for others, but this is my story. So first of all, let's start with the problems that we encountered. And this is also one of the main problems of artificial intelligence. Most powerful artificial intelligence models are based on machine learning, neural networks, which are, you must have heard about machine learning and deep learning. And they are based on neural networks. These neural networks are so complex that if you give them enough data, they are fantastic at making any decision, recommendation, and categorization. Think about your Netflix recommendations, Amazon purchase recommendations when you search, they just need a lot of data. So, and the way they make these decisions is very unclear. Even to the engineer who has actually made this model, we really don't know how they made these decisions. So this means that you have a decision, but you don't know how it has been made. And nowadays, AI models are so easy to get by, and you can actually purchase it from the Amazon marketplace, and you can train a model and get a result. But it actually increases the automatic decision making, but we don't understand what's happening. So, and that raises to a number of issues. First of all, how can you actually trust a model that you don't know how the decision has been made? And then we are going to talk about the ethics and discrimination. That's a big, big topic of this, if we don't know what kind of decisions happened inside. And more, these models are getting complex and more complex. You cannot really assure their safety and privacy. And we're going to talk about it. And more regulatory bodies across the world. I'm from Europe, so Europe is strong in regulation. And here the GDPR and is already asking companies, if you use AI models, you need to provide explanations. You can't simply say the computer said so. That's not allowed anymore. And even US is working on that. So, and in the US, for example, the FDA, the Federal Drug Agency, has come up with some regulatory guidelines. If you use AI in medicine, you actually need to make sure that the explanations are given to each decision, and you need to assure that this model is safe 100% every time. It has to be regularly monitored. And this is easier, much easier said than done. And let's look into the different issues of trust. Like, for example, a lot of banks use artificial intelligence. So you go to get a mortgage, and the manager runs some, punches some buttons, and you either get loan accepted or loan rejected. You don't get a why for the traditional AI models. So if you actually dig deep, if you don't know why it was accepted or rejected, you don't know whether it's really rejected because this person has a bad credit history, or it has been rejected because they are not white or not from the traditional wealthy demographics. So trust in the AI decision is a big problem because of this black box issues. And Sivagami just said about the Amazon recruiting algorithm fiasco, where you can actually, and the funny part was the curricula were actually anonymized. There was no indication of gender in the curriculum. The algorithm was able to interpret if it was a man or a woman just by the hobbies or the kind of schools they went to. So, and they just automatically excluded women from the recruitment process. And most recently, if you haven't heard about this, the Apple Card had a huge bias. Even the co-founder of Apple, Steve Wozniak, complained because he and his wife, both of them, applied for Apple credit card. And they had the same credit history. They always had a joint account, and he was given much, much higher credit rating than the wife. So the only difference between them was he was a man and she was a woman. And in medicine, for example, now AI is, especially due to this COVID crisis, and there's a lot of hope on artificial intelligence in medicine, especially in low-income countries, where you have lack of doctors, to improve healthcare processes. They're thinking AI is going to revolutionize. Yes, but this is actually from a real successful medical app that was released in the UK 2 months ago. You could put in your symptoms and you would get a diagnosis of whatever you have. And a person with a heart attack, a man, put in his symptoms, and immediately the app said, hey, I think you have an emergency, call 911 and rush to the hospital. And what happened to a woman when women put her heart attack symptoms? They said, hey, it's a panic attack, calm down. You just can, do it at home. You'll be fine. And you know why this happened? Because traditionally, even in medical textbooks, forever, the study on human body was done on a white male body. So the heart attack symptoms for women are very different from men. And if you look at even medical textbooks, they say that women's symptoms are atypical. How can 50% of the population's symptom be atypical? Now, this algorithm has just propagated the bias that it had learned from these textbooks or from the practice. So these type of things happen just because of these black boxes. It's almost like garbage in, garbage out. If you give bad data, you get bad results. And the worst part is they reinforce the bias. They make it worse. And just because, and we kind of think if a computer has made the decision, there shouldn't be any error, right? Because machines are objective, but apparently they are not. So this kind of awareness is something very important when we use technology. Having said this, I think AI is brilliant. It's going to bring about a revolution. It's going to help the society. It's going to reduce poverty. It's going to create a lot of prosperity. But if we are going to go ahead with this kind of AI, we have to be careful about how we design our algorithms, how we put things into perspective. And the other issue, bias is a big issue, trust is a big issue, and these things also, from a regulatory perspective, are very, very serious, especially if you're in the banking or healthcare domain. And the other interesting part, or let's say, is the safety. So the safety of the AI is that since it doesn't look at a picture like you and I do. It doesn't look, oh, it's a cat because it has 2 ears. That's not how it reasons because it's a black box. You just give it enough pictures. It just learns that this is a stop sign. What happens is now you can actually trick these algorithms. You can just put a little sticker next to a picture and it immediately gets confused. And think of a self-driving car. This was an experiment done by the researchers at the University of California, Berkeley. They on a stop sign, they just put a little bit of stickers and it wasn't recognizing a stop sign and it was recognizing just the bottles. So it immediately becomes a safety issue. So we have all these promises of the technology. So sorry for starting the day with such a, I didn't want to scare you actually, but what I was trying to tell you is that we should always, if there is a revolution, there is a saying, if there's a revolution, we should always have more scrutiny than less. So that's the background. So these are the aspects actually I kind of encountered during my consulting of AI, right? Not necessarily safety, but we started asking questions, and I was like, okay, so there's this huge hype about AI. Everybody wants to use AI, but can we do something to kind of combat these kind of issues? And that's when Clearbox was born. And in addition to these topics, let's say many companies right now, 90% of them are investing in AI. Everybody wants to innovate, right? It's a new technology. It has a great potential. So that's why if you want to choose a career, AI is definitely a hard field. However, only 17% of them are actually able to use them into real life. But maybe most companies outside Google, Facebook, they know AI as a chatbot or maybe a simple recommendation system. But a lot of companies are yet to gain the potential of AI. And some of the main reasons why they said, when we actually, as a startup, have spoken to a lot of companies, is the four main reasons they say. I don't know how I can trust this. I have regulatory issues, and I have issues of bias, and I think how can you assure my safety? These are the four main reasons they tell us. So usually that's what happens is when AI is adopted, some companies are a bit more scared of this, and they say, okay, I'm going to avoid it. I'm not going to innovate. And I'll just do a POC or a pilot about it, and then I'll leave it at the R&D labs. A lot of big companies also are doing this. However, some companies say, I still want to use AI, but maybe not the machine learning, not the black box models, but something, even a decision tree is artificial intelligence. I will use a simpler AI model, and I still use AI because AI is everything, right? So it's actually not optimal. Like, we've done a lot of benchmarking tests, and neural networks always outperform, especially when the data is very high. So this is just to wrap up. This was my main motivation. Like, as a woman, as a responsible citizen of society, I was thinking, oh, I have this background. Why can't we do something about, creating a company that can help companies to actually adopt this technology? Because we are pro technology, but let's do it in a human-centric and trustworthy way. And so basically, we kind of offer the third option. So what we essentially do is, when we have an AI model and a data, the first thing we do is we do a model assessment. Even before a model assessment, a data assessment. How good is this data? Is it biased or not? Can you actually do something about it, etc.? And then we do a model assessment. So if you are planning to utilize a certain model for a certain purpose, you can actually, get a robustness check. How can we trick your model? How good is your model? You get a report, and once you're satisfied with the model, we'll actually help you to package the model, put it into production, and we have a product called the AI Control Room, which actually gives explanations to each of the decision that's made by your model. We help you to constantly monitor the performance, because what happens is, if you train your model with a certain data set, you get a certain accuracy, but if you actually put it into real world with new data, the same accuracy doesn't stand. So this is called the calibration error. We help you to reduce it and make sure that the training accuracy is the same as operational accuracy. Or if something goes wrong, you have a kind of an insight into the black box, and at a computationally efficient manner. So we have deposited our patent, and we are very confident about it. And we've released our MVP a couple of months ago, and we've tested with about 12 companies, and we have very good results. And we are having their second release in a couple of months. Now. Essentially, we do two things. One, to people who are very new to AI, it's like, okay, is AI for me? So we help them to understand, hey, should you use AI or not, or just a heuristic? And then we do a pilot with some of our partners. Or if you already have an AI model and you want to be responsible and human-centric, we actually help you assess your model and also help you with the ML ops, it's called, like it's the DevOps for machine learning. We do the ML ops and help them deploy and monitor. And all this, we do it with our fantastic team. We are 2 women, and we fight really hard to get the gender balance, but sometimes we also, it's really difficult because we have noticed that there's a lot of demand for AI jobs. Like when we try to recruit people, it's really, there's a huge demand. So women out there, if you want to join AI, please, 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 take a course, do a machine learning Coursera specialization, and you'll be ready to companies like us. And if you are looking for a job or something, write to us, please. We our values, I think it's also because we have a lot of women's perspective. We focus a lot on social responsibility and inclusion and respect. We really think that everybody should have a voice in the company while developing the models or while creating a project. We definitely encourage everybody, and we are a very flat organization usually. And this is how we work. And so far, our company is relatively young. It's 1.5 years old. It's a startup. And like I said, compared to an enterprise, startup is a very exciting field. You need to raise money, you need to hire people, you need to start doing all sorts of things at the same time because you want to grow. And when you grow, you have to collect metrics, go to the next seed of investment. So it's really a very dynamic situation, but we are very proud that in the last year, we won the Best Startup Award in Italy. We got the European Union Seal of Excellence, and we finished accelerating with NVIDIA and Plug and Play. And we are very happy that we are now currently in the AI model assessment by the United Nations ITU organization. The white paper will come in a couple of months, and once it's out, I'll be happy to share it with Sivagami et al. And about how we can make robust AI models for healthcare. So having said this all sounds very exciting and glamorous being in a startup, but I would also like to say a little bit of challenges that I think as women entrepreneurs face. First of all, it's the relentless pressure and expectation, because if you start building a company, you do everything. You're both. I'm the CEO, but I'm also the secretary. I'm also the mailman. I'm also the, let's say, the cleaning lady. So you do everything, and it's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of expectations, because expectations from your staff, you need to pay them. From your investors, they're like, hey, what's up? What are your metrics this month? What's up? And then you need to go to the next fundraising round, and it's and there's so much pressure. And there's, whether we like it or not, there are a lot of societal expectations of gender roles, right? So that also comes to the leadership style. So if you're really decisive, there is saying that if a man is aggressive, he's a leader. If a woman is aggressive, she is I don't want to say what she is. So this kind of, let's say, stereotypes are still there, how much ever we would like to say they're not. So it's hard to be both decisive and polite, and you can't make everybody happy. So and also as a woman leader, you want to make sure that people that sometimes you end up working twice or thrice as hard to make sure that you belong, you are there, you do this. So this kind of pressure is very high. And especially the work-life balance is a mess, because if you have your own company, you always do that 24/7. You don't have weekends, because it's your company. It's like, who are you taking vacation from? And and it's really high stakes. It's quite uncertain. Like, you don't know if it could make $1 billion or it could not do anything. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And especially it depends on what stage of your life you are. Maybe if you're young and you are like, you want to do this, it's fine. But maybe when you start a family, where you're thinking of stability and things like that, those times it feels a bit strange. But I have to be honest, I have 2 children, and it's really crazy. You know, it's I decided to move this path, but the work-life balance is a big issue. And the another thing which I noticed was the access to networks. Networks in the sense that, you know, all these informal meetings. I know this person, I know that person. I mean, I don't want to be, let's say, too direct, but there are a lot of old boys clubs. And it's hard to get in. You know, you are sometimes the outsider, and sometimes it's a lot of things happen through contacts, a lot of introductions. So you need to be there, and like the same thing with work-life balance. I mean, you can't leave everything out and be everywhere all the time. So these are some of the big challenges. But one of the other challenges that my other women entrepreneur friends say is about funding. We were fortunate, we didn't have issues with funding, but I also hear a lot that funding can be a bit of a concern for women entrepreneurs, although statistics say that women-led companies are much more successful than men-led companies. But in my case, fortunately, that wasn't the case. However, having said this, I still think having your own company is very rewarding for a number of reasons. You can actually work on your passion. You can actually, you know, put your knowledge and your motivation into something you believe, and you can construct it. And you are your own boss. Of course, it comes with a lot of you know, asterisks, but it's really rewarding. Sometimes the highs are really high and the lows are really low, especially when you get an award, when you get a prize, when you sign a new contract. It's really exciting, and you feel like, oh, you're creating jobs, you're actually, you know, creating wealth, and that's very, very cool. So for women to overcome these challenges, some of my suggestions would be to actually, first of all, choose the right team. You know, if you're able to choose the right team, they are going to be your backbone. They must be people who you can trust. I mean, and if you choose the right team, you can delegate. You know, you don't have to take control of everything. You can lead, but tell them what to do. A good leader is a good delegator. Delegate and delegate. That's my biggest suggestion, I would say. And another thing which I learned the hard way is you have to grow a thick skin, because there'll be a lot of rejections, lot of everybody who says, yes, I like this, let's talk about it. Then you don't hear from them. And then a lot of disappointments and a lot of, because failure is a part of life as a startupper, you know, when you start up this company, because you have these huge ambitions and you're so positive, but the world is not as positive as you are. So it's like, you need to constantly remind yourself why you are there in the first place. And also, especially women, don't doubt yourself, really, because, you know, a lot of people with half your intelligence are more confident sometimes, and you know, you should really say that, hey, I reached this place because I deserve it, and I'm going to do what I have to do, and never doubt yourself. Obviously, don't be arrogant and not take constructive criticism, absolutely not, of course, but you know, stand your ground. You know, you don't have to be bullied into doing things that you don't want to do. And most importantly, this is so important, you cannot do this alone. You don't have to be a warrior. You know, you need support. It could be from family, from friends, or fellow professionals, somebody to talk to, somebody who, you know, you can just, you know, have your comfort zone, somebody who will embrace you and say, hey, that's okay, let's go to the next one. And this is extremely important to avoid burnouts. And you are a very precious resource to the community. And if you burn out, it's really very sad. So please build a support, and in the same way, support other women entrepreneurs as well. If they are going through a problem or something, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee, talk about it, you know. And to create these networks, and let's create girl clubs, you know, in AI, and introduce each other. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Self-care is very underrated as an entrepreneur. And so this is what I thought I was going to talk about, about my little bit about my story. I think I am more than happy to, interact with you and answer more questions. And if you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to, speak with you or have a one-on-one on women entrepreneurship or AI, or how do we develop products, selling, and all the fundraising, all these things. I've gone through that, so happy to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini. Actually, the participants have some questions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wasn't looking at the chat. I'm sorry. Do you want to choose the ones, because there I seem to.
Yeah, she done.
Yeah, I've done.
Yeah.
Okay, we have few questions in the chat window. I think it's been answered already. So if the attendees could raise hand, we can unmute them so that you can ask questions.
Okay.
Meena, I have unmuted the people who has question already.
Okay.
They can ask their question one by one. Yeah.
All right. Saranya, you had some questions, so you can go ahead.
Hi, Shalini. Thank you for the story. I love the idea of creating a girls' club. Thank you.
Yeah. No, but I don't want to be a radical feminist. I'm very much equal opportunities. I think men are so important. They have to be our allies. But we don't have enough women support networks.
Yes, I agree, and it's nice to share thoughts, and
Yeah.
it's good. So I wanted to know more about the neural networks. Can you tell me some real life projects where you implemented in Clearbox? Is it like deep learning or just
Yes.
simple neural network?
Yeah. Yes, it could also be a random forest. Actually, we did a use case with a telecom company. It was not even a neural network. It was neural network, but it was not deep learning. It was a random forest algorithm. And what happened was, it was still a black box. They had an issue tracking system. So what they did was they automated their issue tracking system, and it was supposed to send an issue to a particular department. And what was happening was, it was just saying, hey, you need to solve this issue. And the operator was not following up on the recommendation because they didn't know why it was being sent to them. And they were just passing it on to the next person. That it's not mine, it's yours. So in the end, these issues were just being circulated, and none of the issues were being resolved. So when we applied our technology, we actually were providing explanations. Oh, you were issued this ticket because 2 months ago, a similar issue was also given to you, and you had solved it. And since then, the issues were clearing up much faster. This was a recent example. And the other one we are currently working is actually for a credit rating department of a bank. They had exactly the problem of they were using machine learning for their credit scoring system. And the regulatory organization did not accept that to become a product. And we actually helped them to unlock them to get into get through the regulators.
Got it. So the issue in the first place, was it related to the feature engineering? Is it because the feature selection didn't happen well, or?
Yeah, I'm very happy to share more about it, Saranya, because I see that. Can we can we talk about that separately?
Yeah,
I can even share my.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shalini, for such a inspirational speech and sharing your challenges, and for all your motivation for young and aspiring women who want to enter this AI field.